The most dangerous thing about Homelander isn't that he wants to be feared. It's that he decided love wasn't worth the risk. Something made him stop trying to be loved. Because for a while, Homelander had it. The adoration, the worship, people needed him. And that was enough. Until it wasn't. Because the moment the love starts to slip, the moment people begin to question him, something in Homelander breaks. He doesn't try to win them back, he replaces it with fear. Throughout The Boys, we see Homelander constantly insisting he's above everyone else. He frames himself as evolution, as inevitable, as something beyond moral judgment. But this desire to be above humanity reveals the truth. He doesn't just want power over people, he wants insulation from them. From their weakness, unpredictability, and most importantly, their ability to withdraw affection. That distance, that insulation, is what Homelander calls godhood. Human identity is relational. We learn who we are by mirroring others, our friends, our family, those who we trust. A child internalizes that love and gradually forms a stable sense of self. Homelander never got that. He was observed, not nurtured, studied by uncaring scientists in a cold, white lab. He was truly alone. That lab may have created a being of unimaginable strength, a creature truly out of a myth, but it failed to stabilize his vulnerability. In fact, it did the opposite. Without early attachment, the self doesn't form naturally. It compensates. It's called compensatory narcissism. Not narcissism as vanity, but narcissism as defense. When a stable internal identity fails to form, the mind constructs one that cannot be threatened. Some people compensate through achievement, others through control. Homelander compensates through transcendence. If no one tells him he is inherently valuable, he will redefine value itself. Power, then, that becomes the only metric that matters. But power alone is fragile. It can be challenged, outdone, taken away. On its own, power can't give him the absolute certainty he craves. So Homelander can't just see himself as powerful. Instead, he elevates himself beyond comparison entirely. He doesn't want to win within the system. He wants to exist outside of it, as something beyond humanity. By positioning himself above humanity, Homelander builds a fortress against the two things that could destroy him: shame and rejection. Shame is Homelander's original injury, an early developmental wound so destabilizing that the personality organizes itself around never feeling that vulnerability again. If he is a god, then his impulses are not flaws, they are nature. Rejection is what Homelander has spent his entire life running from. To a god, there is no abandonment, only worship or denial. But worship is a fragile currency, it's conditional. The applause, then, it isn't real, it's regulation. It's a temporary hit of stability for Homelander's crumbling psyche. This is why dependency is his greatest enemy. To depend on someone is to be human, and to be human is to be vulnerable. When Homelander returns to the lab he was raised in as an adult, he isn't looking for an apology. When the scientists try to justify the years of torture, he meets their excuses with mockery. By demeaning them, he avoids the one truth he can't survive. He was once a child who needed protection, and it never came. If he admits he was hurt, he has to admit he is human. Therefore, godhood is simply the route Homelander is using to escape those memories. And now, 4 seasons later, this insecurity is hardened into an ideology. Homelander is terrifying not because he thinks he's a god, but because the desperation driving that delusion is so tragically human. Compensatory narcissism isn't rare. When people feel unseen, they seek significance. When powerless, they fantasize about supremacy. At Homelander's core, he refuses to be small. He refuses to be wounded. He can't just rise above humanity. He wants to avoid the risks of it: rejection, insignificance, impermanence. But being feared, that preserves the distance. Homelander knows that being human requires closeness, vulnerability, dependency, and he would rather suffocate the desire to be human than let anyone see it.